Jerry, very good to see you. Hello, Mickey. Good. Yeah.
About half the year. I don't know what it means.
Whenever they start. Yeah. That's very brave. It's going to be private. And we're about to actually. All your conscious hours awake. And it's very important.
I'm slightly right of a killer, but honey, actually he's quite liberal. Compared to me, but yes. Guy, I'm going to give a small, short speech. It won't be more than 50 or 60 minutes. The real glossary of terms behind the offer for sale. Some of the, well, they're all fairly legitimate. There's nothing vulgar here, so I could probably read them all. But Great Western, number 39. I haven't looked at trim in several years since I ran in the Boston Marathon in 1977. But I thank you very much indeed. And the wish I would make is that continued success and thanks for all the professionals and the people that are here this evening. And the only resistance I see in the resources stock is at about 10 pounds. So keep buying. I would like to take just a few minutes of our time now. Notwithstanding, I'm a consummate public speaker as our... Oh, you want me to cut this? Okay. As some of the people in the room, especially our resident politician, Mr. Lilly, I think it's important to really relate some of my personal feelings and the feelings of Great Western Resources to the group that's assembled this evening. I'm somewhat of a fatalist in that a lot of the things that have happened really by way of, not really luck, but calculated luck, more importantly. I have been asked here recently in the last few hours, especially today, how I feel. Well, I don't really feel any different than I did yesterday, excuse me, or the day before. But what I do feel is that I think I need a little cognac here to wash my face. What I really do feel is that short of the birth of my two sons, this is probably the happiest day of my life. Very much like the birth of my two sons, Derek Stewart and Dan Jr., somebody else other than myself had a great deal to do with this. Notwithstanding, I was the father of my two children and the father of this project. My wife, with respect to my two sons, did all the work and bore the children. Very much analogous to that, the people in this room, amongst a great many other people that aren't here this evening, did all the work and bore the child, which was Great Western Resources. Today is the 10th of August, 1984, which is, for a lot of obvious reasons that we've already discussed, is my birthday, and I'm 39 today. But it's the 13th year that I've been out of university. I've been in the real business world 13 years. 13 is a very lucky number to me. I met my wife on Friday the 13th, 1970. She was one of 13 women, and I was the only man on a ski trip to Yosemite, California, which is fairly legend in the United States, which has been unpublished here. We got engaged on Friday the 13th, and we were married on Friday the 13th, 1973. It's only fitting that Great Western Resources was floated here in the UK in the 13th year on the 10th, notwithstanding our second day of dealings will be the 13th of August, which will be Monday. I feel that, notwithstanding I've received a number of accolades about the success of the flotation, it's really very much a group effort. A group effort that I think that should be rewarded, and this is just a very, very minor way of issuing my thanks and Great Western Resources thanks to the people that did an absolutely tremendous professional job. More than anything, our success, notwithstanding the great professionals that were involved, from the solicitors to the accountants to the merchant bankers and all the people that are involved, there's one or two people that really have really shone as bright as these lights in the room this evening. One of which is sitting at the table with me this evening, and his name is John Coyle. He happens to be with a company called Broad Street. He's in the advertising business, PR business. But more importantly, I think he's really shown gifted genius in bringing publicity and PR to an issue that has been maligned because of the industry that it happens to be in, the oil and gas business. Notwithstanding the negative press generically that has come out about our industry, John, through his genius and his colleague's genius at Broad Street, has somehow, perhaps in a convoluted manner, I'm still not sure how he's done it, has convinced the investing public, the institutional investor, the analyst, that we should defy gravity, as it was put this morning in the Times. I can't thank John Coyle and Broad Street enough. I've been involved in a lot of issues, notwithstanding my background is Wall Street, and I've never seen a better job done, more professional job done, and I think that it's due John Coyle a round of applause from the other professionals that were involved in this issue. John? Brown Shipley, who really was the forefront of this issue, and more importantly, their head of corporate finance, really, when some of the other parties that were involved in this, from the press to everybody else, perhaps got a little weak-kneed and needed a little stiff upper lip, as they would say here in the UK, really went to bat for us. John Van Kuffler, who, notwithstanding, he looks more senior than he is. He's really a relatively young man. I'm not sure if merchant banking has done this to him, but John has done an exemplary job, and he's represented Brown Shipley in a magnificent way. Since I did come from the United States investment banking field and have dealt with from the Merrill Lynch's to the Morgan Stanley's to everybody involved, and have had the odd deal on the street, I was very much impressed. And notwithstanding, to quote Bette Midler, who has described England as what's the difference between England and New York, and she was recently interviewed here a few weeks ago on TV AM or Good Morning Britain or whatever it's called. She said, well, right now it's 11 o'clock in New York City, and here in London, it's 1939. Well, notwithstanding that sleepy, lazy attitude that people may think permeates the city of London, it's not true. And we got this transaction done in 4 months, from the womb to the tomb. Notwithstanding this is in our grave, and nobody has been more responsible for that than John Van Cutler of Brown Shipley, and I'd like John to stand up and take his due. The backup for John, who I've made some very caustic remarks about over the 15 or 20 institutional presentations that I've made, and the butt of my jokes. Where's the butt of my joke? Oh, Jeremy has been really 3 people. First and foremost, because of his youth and because of the fact that he's 23 and he looks 15, is Jeremy Knight, who was really the manager of our project. Richard Osmond, please stand up. And Jonathan Gage, who's really the senior statesman. Since Lord Farnham couldn't be here tonight, I don't mind saying in front of Richard Mansell Jones, the managing director of Brown Shipley, these are really the brains of the deal. I still remember several months ago in Los Angeles when Jonathan Gage had cocktails. Why are you covering your head, Jonathan? Had cocktails at our home, and we went out to dinner, and Jonathan was telling me, this is fantastic. But gee, he sounds some cross between Bela Lugosi and somebody I can't remember. But it's been a really enjoyable experience. It really has. I only wish that my other partner in crime, in addition to Mark Harrison, who I'll talk about in a second, Charlie Soliday, who's our Chief Financial Officer, who is really doing the work now back in the United States and supervising the development of our field in the DJ Basin. We're here tonight with his lovely wife, Cindy. There's a gentleman just lit a cigarette. His name's Mark Harrison. And Mark is a former partner with one of the biggest law firms in the world. And he has been my attorney.
Everybody here knows that name by now.
Billy Cumber Wagner, Heine, Underberg, Casey, and Manley. Manley and Casey. And he's really the one that pushed me to, once we met with Brown Shipley, to go ahead with the idea of a flotation, because I said the market's not right. And after talking to Peter Lilly, he assured me that the market wasn't right. But we went ahead anyway, and Mark really was very forceful, and he's as much the reason that we're here this evening as anybody. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Resources, the parent, and my good friend, and has been with me several years and has helped me to grow in the oil business. Notwithstanding, by now, from reading the press, everybody ought to know that I'm not an oilie. Mark Harrison, I'd like you to just stand up. One of the things that I have discussed in depth, especially with some of the younger fellows here, is how something like this all comes about. You know, how does something like this come to fruition where we're all sitting with black ties except for me? It's really not easy. One of the things that people that have known me for some length of time have known is that I'm, as I said earlier, very much a fatalist. I believe very much in goal setting and positive thinking. One of the things that I've often said, and I didn't say it in the press, or maybe I did, but they didn't quote me, is yesterday's dreams are today's realities. 3 years ago, we came to London, Mark and I, on another transaction when I was the head of another company, with the idea of doing a flotation. We sat down at Greenwell's, our illustrious brokers, to the issue, and a gentleman named Guy Dunphy stormed in. And Guy was ranting and raving about this is a great idea, but it's not the right time. Well, Guy happened to be right, and little did we know, we happened to get there the week of I forget how many hundreds of millions or whatever, and the merchant bankers ate about 80% of the stock. The guy was right. So 3 years later, we came back again, and we're successful. Part and parcel of that success is the fact that one of our American banks introduced us to the managing director of Brown Shipley, Richard Mansell Jones. Quite innocently, I believe, I think anyway, originally, but if it weren't for that introduction by Mid-Atlantic Bank, which is the largest bank in New Jersey, which has really been our premier bank and is the reason that we're successful today, we wouldn't be here today. And I'd like very much to thank personally, and I think as a group we should thank, the now leading head of the Mid-Atlantic office here in London, who will be going back to New Jersey here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, George Jenkins, who really is primarily responsible for our introduction to Brown Shipley. And without that introduction, it's likely that this issue wouldn't have come to fruition. George, thank you very much. Before I get too long-winded, because I promised Guy Dumpty. Notwithstanding, inter alia, I didn't know what that meant until we started dealing with Allen and Overy and Freshfield. I'm not sure I know what it means now, but I'd just like to spend a couple of minutes talking about the support that we've received, starting with the PR and the press and with our professionals, and the fact that we did a number of dog and pony shows, as they're called in the United States, i.e. going around and talking to institutions and analysts, or more importantly, in my humble opinion, purported analysts. The fact that we have been favorably received is really a reflection of the fact that all of us in this room, amongst a great many other people, and a lot of other firms, never gave up. I've historically been successful in doing a lot of things against the trend. This afternoon I spent the last 2 or 3 hours before I came here this evening on the phone with my Wall Street former colleagues who are all very much excited about the issue, and I think that the excitement will really spread. I've said, notwithstanding I used to be on the technical side, which I don't brag about anymore, the only technical resistance I see in the stock is about 10 pounds. But I think that performance is the name of the game now. We have sold this issue on the fact that, notwithstanding one of the oil issues that came to market here in the last 6 months, which has been very successful, that we really can't be compared to any of them. And I think that history will prove itself. One of the things I'd like to say now is I'd like to thank 2 of the directors that are here, notwithstanding all of them couldn't be here. The Grand Old Man of the North Sea, as he's been called in the press recently, Robert Dyke, formerly of Hamilton Brothers, more importantly of Great Western Resources now, in my humble opinion, who brought in the first oil of the North Sea. And I think that Bob Dyke, Bob, would you, so they can see your brain head, has given a great deal of credibility to what, even though we were quoted or talked about as being an exceptional management team, a great deal of credibility vis-a-vis his 50 years of experience. And without his sage advice and guidance, this couldn't happen. Also, Mr. Bruce Patterson, formerly finance director of Tri-Central and formerly of Shell, group treasurer for 23 years. The experience factor with Bruce, tied with Bob and our other directors, I mean, we couldn't have done without. It's been a group effort. I've gotten a lot of accolades, and I'm very appreciative of them. And I think in closing, I would say that I feel very much like Eisenhower on D-Day when finally Omaha Beach was taken. Notwithstanding, there were a lot of beaches that were taken very easily, and Eisenhower got a lot of credit for probably he wasn't deserving, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of credit for things that I'm not deserving. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
I would just like to thank you for everything that you said on behalf of all the various professionals, the home team, as it were, here, to thank you and your colleagues. When one reflects on the success of an issue, one thinks as to why has it been a success and why has it occurred this way. The reason, of course, is the client. The reason it has been such a success is because Great Western, and more particularly its directors, are really absolutely top quality and top draw. And that is why we know the company has done well in the past and why it is going to do well in the future. Another important thing that I'm sure reflects the feeling of the professional parties here in the room is that we have had to work hard during this, and on occasion it's been tough, but also it's been fun. We've enjoyed it, and that's always very important in a transaction like this. So I would just really like to finish by suggesting that everyone drinks a toast to Great Western.
It's over. But also, there's a song, I can't think of the name of the title, it's Only Just Begun. This is just the beginning this is just the beginning of Resources history, and I hope that we can meet again. And somebody asked me a little earlier what I was going to do on my 40th birthday. I was asked that on my 38th birthday. I ran 38 miles on my 38th birthday. And people asked me what I was going to do on my 39th, and I said, it'd have to be something fairly big. The company has something fairly big to do in the next year. I think we'll have big announcements on my 40th birthday, August 10th, 1985. Thank you very much again.